Imagine you're sitting at a bar and you're waiting for a friend to show up. And you're on your phone. You're looking at Twitter or you're texting or something. In that moment, where are you really? Because to the external world, you are in the bar. But obviously, mentally, you're somewhere else. You're in the text message, or you're watching a video, or reading an article or something. But you're not literally in the phone, because your phone does exist in the bar with you. But mentally and emotionally, you are in between places. You're on a server somewhere. You're bouncing off a satellite in space. But you're doing all of these things at the same time, and you're not really thinking about it. But to capture reality in that moment involves several things happening at the same time. Young people who have grown up with, iPhones, technology, they're used to dealing with this split. This is kind of naturally how they exist. You're always in one place and also kind of in another place at the same time. You're in the middle of a text conversation that's stretched out over months, and you're looking at your phone, and you're also in the world, and you're waiting to get back to your phone. And that's just life. It's stressful, but it is also just reality. For most young people, they've never even experienced a world without this. That is why I think movies and film in general is losing relevance with young people. And that's why I think a lot of this stuff is on its way out. Just because it can't capture reality the way people live it every day. I think film itself makes certain assumptions about the viewer, which is that, obviously it does involve sitting down and watching something all the way through, which, if you've been to a movie theater lately, you know that is a struggle at best. But it also involves the language of cinema, which is almost entirely happening in real time. It's two people talking face to face. It is drama that is playing out linearly. One thing happens and then the next thing happens. And typically, somebody is crying in a kitchen. Somebody makes a dramatic entrance into a room, and then conflict leads to resolution. But that just doesn't reflect the way that modern life feels. Because you think about that text message conversation I was talking about, the one that is stretched out over months. Texting and modern communication in general, it's not just about what you do. It's also negative space. The real core drama of digital communication is the text message that you don't send. One person sends a paragraph and they're waiting for a response. And then a day later, they get a 2-word response. That is drama. And it's real emotion too. That is something that causes somebody real damage. But it's also something that you can't show on film. Because film is, like I was saying, it's linear. You can't make a smooth jump to show somebody that they waited a whole day to get that text message. And then when they got it, it was 2 words. And the person who's holding their phone isn't sure what's going on. There is an ambiguity to it. And the fact that film is tied to visuals, you got to show something on the screen. And that is something that you can show, but the emotion will be lost because the person who's watching it didn't feel that entire day go by. And that's how modern drama works itself out. It is kind of ambient. It's asynchronous. It happens over time, and most of it happens internally. People do still have, blow-ups in person, and there is still some drama, but most day-to-day life these days does not lend itself well to visual. People try it, and you see some TV shows doing this now, where it's a text message conversation, and they show like little bubbles popping up on the screen, which, I mean, you got to do something. But I think we can all agree it feels kind of flimsy. It feels like you're watching a PowerPoint presentation. Or, they do something where it's like somebody's writing a text message, but they do it through like a voiceover. So you hear the person's voice acting dramatic. And that's also false, because that's not what a text message is. It's typing and thinking at the same time. So the only way you can show that on camera is a real ham-fisted voiceover, or some internal dialogue, or like some like cutaway or something. Or maybe it's like something where two people are, someone's writing a vicious email to somebody else, and then you hear them, they like hit send really dramatically, and then they slam their laptop shut. That's not what people do. It feels false because it is false. It's hard to accept the fact that life itself used to be more cinematic. Stuff used to happen more in person. And that's what movies reflected. That's why the golden age of cinema starts when it does. Because people back in those days, in the 1950s, 1960s, they did stuff in person. People, something dramatic would happen, and then you would just turn and look out the window, somberly. That's not how it works anymore. Now, if something dramatic happens and the door slams and you hear the car screeching, you pick up your phone and you start watching TikTok videos. Life itself doesn't have the same cinematic quality. People used to work in person. They would make dramatic entrances and exits and, office politics, and they're arguing in person. Whereas now, it does happen, but it's mixed in with texting. It's mixed in with emails and all the other things in modern life that makes things less dramatic. The great irony is that as much as film struggles to capture modern life, the medium that I think actually reflects the way we live is probably fiction. It's probably novels, because in the written form, a storyteller can jump through time. Time can compress, or it can expand, and you can jump from month to month. You can go inside the character's mind and to the outside world, and you can reflect ambiguity. You can reflect a character's internal state without having to literally show them doing something. And that's why I think you're seeing such a resurgence sadly, the way it's playing out is like really cheesy, romantic, fantasy stuff or something. But I think that is actually the reason why that's happening, is because that's what it feels like to be alive. It feels like you're in your head sometimes. And it feels like you're in this digital world, but you're also trying to figure out what's actually happening, because the story itself is not presenting itself in an obvious way. Everybody's always trying to decode things. At the same time, though, even books aren't really capturing life, because as much as we're not living cinematically, we're also not living, literary lives either. So I think the medium that actually captures what it's like to be alive in 2025 is social media, is content and videos and, podcasts and stuff. And that is very sad, because movies were so much better.